When your eyes snap open at 3 a.m., your stress system has likely activated during a naturally shallow dip in your sleep architecture. That moment of hyperarousal feels like a crisis, but treating it as one only ensures you stay awake. The solution starts with de-escalating the startup. Clinically, there is a distinction between chronic insomnia, the systemic inability to generate sleep, and a brief nocturnal awakening. One is a failure of the sleep mechanism. The other is an ill-timed spike in alertness. Highly analytical professionals often view these brief gaps in sleep as a pathology. They perceive a routine arousal spike as evidence of a broken system, rather than a manageable physiological event. This experience manifests as a specific physical state. The mind accelerates into problem solving, while the body retains a sudden, rigid tension. Attaching the insomnia label to this event generates immediate dread. That psychological response triggers the exact panic that makes returning to sleep impossible. To understand why this happens, we have to examine the actual mechanics of sleep architecture. Most people assume sleep works like a binary power switch, a state of being either entirely on or entirely off. In reality, sleep is an oscillating wave. You move from the deep, slow-wave sleep of the early night into lighter, more shallow stages as morning approaches. Surfacing briefly into wakefulness during these shallow phases is a standard feature of human biology, one that served an evolutionary purpose for monitoring surroundings. The 3 a.m. wake-up is a normal biological moment, amplified by modern stress. A routine surfacing is being forced into a full system startup. The timing of these awakenings is governed by the diurnal cortisol rhythm. Cortisol bottoms out at midnight, then climbs toward morning alertness. Overlaying the oscillating sleep cycle shows shallow peaks aligning with rising cortisol between 2 and 4 a.m. Above these rhythms sits a wakefulness threshold. Cross this dotted line and you wake up. While this is a simplified model and individual timing varies based on age and chronotype, the systemic vulnerability remains the same for everyone. This suggests that a 3 a.m. awakening is the predictable mathematical intersection of rising morning alertness and a naturally shallow sleep phase. Modern lifestyle choices can easily push this biological intersection over the edge. Factors like late afternoon caffeine, the physiological rebound from alcohol, and heavy late meals increase your internal arousal load throughout the night. On our graph, acute psychological stress and rumination act as a continuous load. This shifts your entire baseline upward, forcing those shallow sleep peaks through the wakefulness threshold. When you violently breach that threshold, your body experiences a full system ignition in the middle of the night. You might fall asleep easily at 10 p.m. because the high pressure for deep sleep masks this underlying arousal. Once that pressure lightens by 3 a.m., the baseline stress is revealed. The 3 a.m. wake-up serves as the delayed evidence of hyperarousal that accumulated during the previous 16 hours. Once the analytical mind is active in the dark, the standard reaction usually makes the situation worse. The natural instinct is to lie still, shut the eyes tightly, and try to force sleep to return. This sleep effort increases systemic vigilance. Trying to command your brain to be unconscious only creates more frustration and alertness. Vigilance requires the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, the same system used to respond to threats, making rest physically impossible. You cycle through checking the clock, calculating lost productivity, and rehearsing tomorrow's problems. This creates a Pavlovian association. As shown in this loop, the mind learns to connect the physical environment of the bed with high-alert problem-solving. As the cycle reinforces itself, the brain begins to treat the mattress as a place for threat resolution. By treating the wake-up as a crisis that must be solved, you have turned your place of rest into a psychological battleground. Solving this requires viewing it as a biological regulation problem. Force is not an effective tool here. While consumer sleep tech and supplements have mixed evidence, consistent physiological habits offer a more grounded path to stability. This begins with daytime stacking, using daytime habits to anchor your internal clock long before you go to bed. Immediate morning light exposure is the most effective way to firmly set your biological clock. A rigid caffeine cutoff ensures that pharmacological arousal is not contributing to your baseline load at 3 a.m. Moving heavy cognitive work and worrying onto paper hours before bed prevents the brain from saving those tasks for the middle of the night. Finally, the bedroom must be optimized for the necessary drop in core body temperature, requiring a cool, dark environment. Lowering your physiological baseline during the day provides the margin of error needed to handle naturally shallow sleep phases without waking up fully. If you have snapped awake and cannot settle after 15 to 20 minutes, the physiological habits must be paired with an immediate behavioral change. This is the protocol for stimulus control. To break the loop, you must leave the bed. This diagram shows the shift. After 20 minutes, move to a different space to reset the brain's association with the mattress. Use only dim lighting and keep screens away. Phone light and content increase arousal. Engage in a dull activity that does not require complex problem-solving or emotional investment. Stay in this low arousal state until you feel the physical sensation of heavy eyelights. That is your only signal to return to bed. This repeated action reteaches the nervous system to pair the bed exclusively with sleep, not with struggle. If you take one thing from this, when you wake and can't fall back in about 15 or 20 minutes, get out of bed. Keep the lights low, do something dull until you're sleepy again, then return. You're reteaching your brain that bed is for sleep, not for fighting sleep.